At this time, we are going to begin services for Joel Ruben. We'll ask if anybody does have a cell phone, aside from those who are participating online. We'll ask if you take a moment, please, to turn those off or place them in the silent mode. Any gentlemen who wish to participate as pallbearers who've been asked by the family, we'll ask you to meet us at the hearse as we escort the casket out.
19 below was the Delta. 19 below.
Not in Orthodox military. No.
I don't know where he said they're over somewhere.
Let's put Mary back.
And we weren't here for that.
You said 6 to 8, but they do need 10 men for the meeting.
Oh my God.
They're not doing anything yet. No. I have to watch. They're not doing anything yet. They're not doing anything yet. They're not doing anything yet. Don't worry. They're going to say the word.
Larry, I'm talking to Michael.
Oh, I apologize.
Larry asked for you on an hour before he got here.
And friends, again, at this time, we are going to begin services for Joel L. Ruben. Again, if anyone does have a cell phone or any other noise-making device, we'll ask you to turn that off or place it in the silent mode at this time. Officiating our services today is Rabbi Louis Lazowski.
Adonai Mo'adam B'Tedo Ehu Ben Enosh V'Tachashvehu Adam Lehevel Dama Yamav Kitzel Ver Zramtam Shena Yu Baboker Kechotzer Yachalof Baboker Yotzitz V'Chalav La'er V'Ymalel V'Yavesh Yimei Shno Senuem Shivim Shana V'Migrosh Vonim Shana V'Ravim Abel V'Aven Ki Goz Chish V'Neufa V'Mnos Yamenu Kein Hadav Navila Av Chachma Shmor Tam Orei Ashor Ki acharis le'ish shalom. Ach Elohim yifte nafshi miyad she'ol ki kocheni sela. Podei Adonai nefesh havada v'lo yeshmu kol achosim bo. Yishov ha'ofor el ha'aretz k'shayav v'roch tashuv el ha'Elohim asher nesana. O Lord, what is man that thou dost regard him, or the son of man that thou dost think of him? Man is like a breath. His days are like a passing shadow. Thou dost sweep men away, they're like a dream, like grass which is renewed in the morning. In the morning it flourishes and is renewed. In the evening it fades and withers. The years of our life are 70, or even by reason of strength 80. Yet their pride is but toil and trouble. They're soon gone, and we fly away. So teach us to number our days, that we may beget a heart of wisdom. Mark the blameless man, and behold the upright. For there is posterity for the man of peace. Surely God will ransom my soul from the grave. He will receive me indeed. The Lord redeems the souls of his servants, and none of those who take refuge in him will be condemned. The dust returns to the earth as it was, but the spirit returns to God who gave it. I believe in your service folders you have the Mizmor David, the 23rd Psalm. Mizmor David Adonai Ro'i Lo Echsor Binesteshe Yarbitzeni Al Memenucho Shenaleni Nafshi Shovei V'yancheni B'ma'aglei Tzedek L'ma'an Shemo Gam Ki Elech Beged Salmoves Lo Yivara Ki Atoi Modi Shiftecha Mishantecha Hema Yenachamuni Ta'aroch B'fonai Shulcha Neged Tzororoi Dishanta B'Shem En Roshi Kosi Rivaya Ach Tov V'Chesed Yudafuni Kol Yimei Chayoi V'Shavti B'Veis Adonai L'Yorech Yamim. The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. He makes me to lie down in green pastures. He leads me beside the still waters. He restores my soul. Yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil, for thou art with me. Thy rod and thy staff, they comfort me. Thou preparest a table before me in the presence of my enemies. Thou hast anointed my head with oil, my cup runneth over. Surely goodness and mercy shall follow me all the days of my life, and I shall dwell in the house of the Lord forever. We are here this morning to pay a final tribute to Joel Ruben, to Yosef Elazar Tzaddik. And we'll have 3 family members that are going to be participating in the eulogies. And we're going to start with Joel's wife, Marilyn. And I don't know if it's easier for her to just have the microphone given to her, or if she can stand. You're up? Okay. Somebody.
Want me to stand?
Yeah.
Watch your feet. Careful, make sure she doesn't
Oh, this is good. Now I can see. I'll put that up so I can see my writing. Okay. I was asked several times this past week about how my husband and I met. Joel Ruben and I. We were both students at Bradley University in Peoria, Illinois, where he was a junior and I was a sophomore. I was the vice president of the Independent Students Association that were non-Greeks, and he was a member of the Off-Campus Men's Association. We met at a party thrown by the ISA called the Beatle Bop, and it was in honor of the Beatles, who had just arrived on the scene as musicians. A very handsome young man came to the party, and he was with a friend from Chicago who was visiting his sister. And I knew most of the people at the party because I'd helped put it together, but in walks this handsome young man with brown eyes, brown hair, and I went, who is that? And he walked up to me as I was scooping punch that we made, non-liquor, from a galvanized miniature garbage can. And he said his name was Joel Ruben. He talked to me for a while, and after the party ended, he asked if he could walk me back to the dorm. So I walked back to the dorm with him, and he put his arm around me and put his hand under my coat collar, and I went, wow, this guy is friendly. I just met him. 25 years later, he told me why he put his hand under my coat collar. His hands were cold. For the rest of the spring, of the winter and spring, the semester, we passed each other on the campus every day. His sidewalk went this way, mine went that way while we were going to class, but he never asked me out. And I kept saying, who is this guy? Why doesn't he ask me out? So, I have to move my pages around. I gotta see.
Why didn't you ask him?
I was a shy kid, in case you don't remember, Norma, my sister. The fall, I came back and I'd spent the summer working in my auntie's kitty clothing store, and my department was the baby layettes. And I was selling them and doing pretty well, and also the Husky boys' clothes. My auntie's at a store in Washington, D.C., and Norma Sue and Joyce were in a fashion show when they were little, but I never got stuck with the thing they had to model. I came back to school in the fall, and I went to registration. Oh, I have to left something out. When I was working in my auntie's store, they had a CPA. I didn't even know what a CPA was. And he was their accountant for the store, and he looked like a short man, round, with brown eyes and brown hair. And I went, you remind me of somebody that I met at school. He said, who is he? This guy I met on campus, but he never asked me out. So I don't know much about him, but you look like him. So I came back in the fall to school to go register, and I registered, and I walked out the door, and there stood the nice-looking young man with brown hair and brown eyes. And I went, oh. And I was so surprised, I dropped all my books and my papers and everything on the floor. I couldn't believe he was still hanging around there because he never messed me out. Anyway, he asked if I would like to go on a date with him. So that took from February, March, April, May, June, July, August, and it was after Labor Day, September. It took him 8 months to ask me on a date. That was Joel. So he asked me out to Agatucci's Pizza Parlor and to go see the movie called The Visit, which had a famous Italian actor that I wrote down and I can't see my papers. I forgot his name. Very famous Italian actor in it. And while he was sitting there talking to me, he picked up a paper napkin, took a pen out of his pocket, and he said to me, "What are your initials?" And I said, "MSW." And he started writing on the napkin, MSW and JLR. And I went, holy cow, it's the first date and he's putting us on the napkin already together. So he asked me out to homecoming. And after that, we became a twosome. So that was 8 months I waited for a date. And the first date, he's already wants to marry me. So we went out all year. And for Israel Independence Day, Nikki will remember this, we got engaged. So we've known each other a total of less than a year. After we got engaged, we had our wedding in Chicago, and the family was so huge. There were 100 people in his family, and about 25 in mine. And it was held at the Sheraton Chicago Hotel downtown. And everybody had a good time. And 2 years later, Rachel was born. We moved into a house in Elk Grove Village. And in 1970, Amy was born. So the rest is history of our family. And that's the result of me waiting for 8 months for a date. I was going to transfer. And seeing him, I came back because I was going to move back to the East Coast. So that's why we got married, and that's the story. And we had wonderful adventures through all these years. And we have a wonderful granddaughter named Sammy who keeps me out of trouble. And it's all because Joel was attending the ISA Beetle Bop.
Thanks, Grandma.
And Sammy's going to continue the story to the next generation.
Okay, mine's really quick, I promise. You can stay up here with me.
You can stay there.
Okay, so I'm just gonna do a quick speech, but my Zadie was the best man in my life. He was hardworking, kind, funny, and smart. And although I grew up in Yuma, I always visited Phoenix to go hang out with my Zadie at the zoo, go out to eat, get his favorite thing, ice cream. We went on countless vacations like San Diego every summer, Israel, Virginia, Chicago, Cleveland, and more. But my favorite times with Zadie was when I went to ASU and we went out to eat every week together, and it was just the best time. He knew all my friends, and he even asked them to come out to dinner with us too. He also did that with my mom, I know, when she went to ASU. He's always been my #1 fan, from ballet to cheerleading to news reporting. He watched me every day. At 5 o'clock, he turned on the news, so that was so nice. He never missed a chance to see me do what I love, and I'll never forget the times we had together. So, love you, Sadie.
I'm Amy. Ruben, I'm Joel, Reichgott, sorry honey, Joel's youngest daughter. My dad often walked around the house singing. He had a beautiful voice. It was comforting and relaxing. it's difficult to speak about him, not just because I'm sad, but because I realized this week very clearly that I was lucky to have a unique relationship with him. Clients, relatives, and friends have reached out telling me how much they loved him, how they will miss him. And I'm touched by their kindness and their stories. I feel like I need to say something profound about my father to advertise his good deeds. But there are many deeds I'm just finding out about. He was a mentor, an advisor, a friend, and an adopted father to more than one person. There are many traits and facts and stories I could share. Those don't represent him fully. And honestly, I'd like to keep some of those stories as private treasures stored in my heart. Besides his laugh and his hugs, the thing I will miss most is just being with him and not doing anything profound. I will miss the ordinary conversations about how to pick out a proper ear of corn and how I should buy only 2 or 4 tires at a time and never 1 or 3 tires. I will miss him telling me to be careful and text when I get home. It's just the ordinary things and my dad's faith in me that I will miss. Thank you.
I don't really have anything prepared, but I'm the only one that hasn't spoken. I'm Rachel, the oldest daughter of Joel and Marilyn, and I don't really have much to say except for I'm going to miss him more than anything in the world. I was lucky enough to spend the last almost 3 years with him and learn more about my dad than... I mean, we went to lunch, we had coffee, we visited clients, we did everything together and went to Mayo Clinic often. And he knew the name of every doctor, every nurse, every person that greeted us at the door said hi to Joel. That's the kind of guy Joel was. Everybody remembered him, everyone knew him, and everyone wanted to be his friend. And I'm just lucky that he was my dad.
So again, we're here to pay final tribute to Yosef Eliezer Ben Tzadi, to Joel Ruben. Joel was born to Sheldon and Doris, and Sheldon was past president of Kesser Marav, and Joel followed in his father's ways when he was president of Schaumburg, I guess, right? Woodfield, I'm sorry, Woodfield. And that was something that he very much enjoyed. And okay, thank you. He went to Phoenix. The family moved to Phoenix in 1988. He had had enough of Chicago's cold, and although he liked ice cream, so you know. What?
Has an ice cream cone.
Okay, very good. As mentioned, he was an accountant, CPA. Often CPAs can just be number crunchers, but CPAs can also be advisors, and that's what he was. It's not that he certainly was more than competent with the numbers. To be a CPA, you must be. You have to understand things. But what he understood more was people. He could see somebody and size them up in a moment. See, this guy, he's a mensch. This guy is a crook. And of course he would never say that to people, but he understood them. And he was truly an advisor in all that he did. He certainly had a very great love for Kesser Marav, because to come back. He was bar mitzvahed Kesser Marv, Rabbi Wine, and his Floyd would tell me stories about Joey and Larry, of course, and to just talk about some of his attributes. He loved driving. He loved taking road trips, but he didn't love tinkering with cars. He could stand on a street corner and identify every single model, but when he was 3,
His uncle told him from the window where the cars came around like Shore Drive.
Okay.
On the line,
Okay. And as I understand it, from age 12, because his mother didn't drive, that he used to drive her. I'm not saying anything out of school, but he was a good driver. What? She couldn't park. Okay, well, okay, that's all right. He so much loved taking family vacations and always took different routes to Virginia, and wherever he went. He always wanted to mix things up and to learn, a lifelong learner. He loved watching Westerns. Perhaps that's why I moved to Arizona. Did he wear a cowboy hat? I don't know.
No, but I got a story.
Okay. Once a month, he used to enjoy playing 25-cent poker. That's probably when 25 cents was worth something. And he used to smoke cigars with his friends as well. I don't know why that was a thing, but people used to smoke cigars and play poker. Along with his dear wife, he used to bowl. They were in a bowling league together. Synagogue bowling, and you had your own bowling ball. That's how good you were.
8 pounds.
8 pounds. Okay. I remember I had to get a bowling ball myself when I was in college. I had to take, phys ed. So I got a bowling ball. If you need it, it's 16 pounds. I haven't used it since I finished college, but that was a long time ago. As mentioned, he was a mentor to other accountants. He was a mentor to his clients. He was an old-time Chicago accountant, and that doesn't mean he kept 2 books. That meant that he had an insight into human nature, something that today we don't find so much. He was very loyal, even if he didn't agree with you, but he was very, very much in that way unique and special. Again, mentioned he loved ice cream, he loved food. He was certainly a loving husband, a loving father. There was nothing he wouldn't do for the family. He never gave up on people. It was important to him. He also had an old-time sense of Jewish humor. Yeah. Okay, I don't know what that means, but...
He likes Jewish comedians and Jewish jokes.
Jewish comedians and Jewish jokes. Okay. His last years since August of 2020, when he was diagnosed with non-Hodgkin's lymphoma, were difficult. He had a number of chemotherapy regimens. He certainly was, unfortunately, as a result of the therapies, he had 4 different illnesses in the end of his life, and he didn't pass away of cancer. The cancer was in remission, but unfortunately, he passed away from all of the complications, which is very frequent. People will have cancer and they'll die of pneumonia, or they'll die of some other thing, and it's always very difficult. But it's clear that he wanted, that he knew what he wanted. He knew his priorities in life. He knew to have some rabbi from Kesser Marav we never knew or heard of to officiate at his ceremony, and to come back with family. So important today. People, as we move across the world since the pandemic, people forget about their roots, people forget about their families. But Joel taught all of us how important family was, and to embrace family and to love family. this coming week, today's Rosh Chodesh Nisan. Today is the beginning of the new month of Nisan. The month of Nisan, of course, is when we were redeemed as a people. And we're told by the Almighty through the Torah that we were redeemed in this month and we'll be redeemed again in this month. In 2 more weeks, we'll gather around the table and family and have our seders together with our young, with our old. And it coincides, the idea of freedom coincides with the 3rd book of the Torah, the book of Leviticus, the book of Vayikra. And the end of the book of Exodus speaks of how after the works of the Jewish people to build a tabernacle, how the Almighty, His presence descended, and the tabernacle was changed from just a building to a living, breathing entity. Before God's presence came into it, it was just a building. But when God descended, it became a living entity. And that's true for each and every one of us. How the soul of the Almighty comes down into each and every one of us. And each of us are a reflection of God's holy light and spirit. And at the end of Vayikra, after God's presence filled the tabernacle, God said, "What are you doing out there? Moshe, come in here. I didn't build this house for myself. I don't need a house. The house that was built, the tabernacle, the synagogues, that's a house for man to come and be with God." And that's something that we have to always remember about family, that we are one, that we're connected with the Almighty. Now, when we look at the bringing of sacrifices, people often will question, what is this sacrifice business? What, mumbo jumbo, hocus pocus, and we're forgiven for things in life. The idea is Adam ki yakriv mikem, when we bring ourselves, when we give ourselves. And Joel taught each and every one of us how to live our lives, how to give of ourselves, how to be involved, how not to have animosity or rejection, but to love people as they were, to accept them even though we didn't disagree with them, but to always embrace them and realize that we are all one large family. And Joel, I think, realized really that nothing really belongs to us, not even ourselves. Everything is a gift from the Almighty. And when you live your life with that realization, that's how you become a giving person. That's how you love other people. That's how you give to other people. That's how you realize that the more you give, the more you get. And that's a unique thing that all too often, unfortunately, in today's environment, something that seems to have gone over the head of most people. So if we really want to pay the ultimate tribute to Yosef Eliezer ben Tzaddik, it's to embrace how he lived his life, to share it with our families, to share it with our friends, to share it with the greater community until that era of eschatology when the Almighty redeems all of us and brings those who have passed back to life. And we return to Yerushalayim, return to the eternal Beis HaMikdash, should be speedily in our days. Just as in Nisan we were redeemed before, may we be redeemed at this time of the year and see Joel very quickly. May his soul be bound up in the bonds of eternal life. Let's say Amen. At this time, we're going to be participating in what is known as a Chesed Shlemus. I can flip the switch there. Now, you can be seated for another. Oh, okay. So, the Kavura burial is known as a Chesed Shlemus. It's known as an act of kindness and of truth. And the logic for that is very, very simple. Let's say you see somebody and ask you for some money. You give them the money and you say, forget about it, I don't need it back. But you never know. Maybe someday in the future you may need something from them. Or you give somebody a ride. You don't expect anything back. But maybe one day you'll need something, right? Not a ride, but something. But when it comes to Kavura, when it comes to burial, there's absolutely no thought in our minds that we're ever going to get anything back. And that's why burial, participating in committing our loved ones to the next world, That's why it's known as a Chesed Shalames. So we will all who would like to, everybody who would like to, can participate in the Kavura, in the burial. We'll put some earth from the land of Israel. Thank you very much. Right? Yeah. Okay. So, thank you so much. So, for right now, I'm going to put the dirt from Israel in the grave, and then after they put the burial vault on top, that's when we will, all of us will participate in the kavura, participate in the burial. And the reason we place dirt from the land of Israel is because when we speak of the area of eschatology, when the resurrection will take place, they say that the resurrection will take place from the land of Israel, in the land of Israel. So by putting dirt from the land of Israel, or sand from the land of Israel, it will enable Joel to be resurrected, which is a very comforting thought. I know now at this difficult time it's not so comforting. So just as soon as the cement, the top of the vault is put on, that's when we'll all participate in the burial. In the meantime, I'm going to recite the Tzedek Hadin, which is a funeral service. I'm not certain that I don't think it's in your service folders. Atzur Tamim Pa'olo Kichol Rochav Mishpat El Amunah Ve'en Avel Tzadik V'Yashahu Atzur Tamim B'chol Po'al Ma Yomar Lo Ma Kefol Ashali B'Matav Ma'al Mimis Chaya Morid She'ol V'Yoal Atzur Tamim B'chol Ma'aseh Mi Yomar Lo Ma Taseh Omer V'Yoseh Chesed Chinam Lonu Taseh V'Zchus Ne'ekad Taseh Akshiva V'Aseh Tzadik B'chol Rochav Atzur Tamim Erech Apayim Mo'irachanim Chamol Na V'Chusna Al Avos Yivonim Kilcha Adon Aslichos Mo'irachanim Tzadik Ato Adonai Lohamis L'Achayos Asher Yadcha Pigdon Aruchos Chalilocha Zichronenu Limchos Vina Inecha V'Rachanu Alena Pekuchos Kilcha Adon Arachnim Yaslichos Adami Ben Shana Yichya Elav Shanim Yichya Ma Yisrael Lo Kalo Hayayiyah Baruch Dain Haemes Memis L'Chaya Baruch Hu Ki Emes Dino Mushote D'Kol Be'eno Mishalom Rab Cheshbono V'Dino V'Akol Lishmo Hodaya Yitenu Yodano Adonai Ki Tzedek Mishpatecha Titzak B'Borecha V'Titzke B'Shavtecha Ben L'Haher Achar Midas Shavtecha Tzadik Ato Adonai Ki Yashar Mishpatecha Dayan Emes Shofar Emes Tzedek V'Emes Baruch Dain Haemes Shkol Mishpatav Tzedek V'Emes Nefesh Kol Chai B'Yadecha Tzedek Mo'a Yiminecha Rachim Al Pleitas Tzon Yadecha V'Somar L'Malach Herek Yadecha Gidol Ha'itza V'Rav Ha'Liliyah Asher Necha Pekuchos Al Kol Darchei B'nei Yadam V'Seis Lish Kidrochav K'B'Chim Ma'Lolav Lagi Ki Yashar Ne'Tru V'Lola Sabol Adonai Nasan V'Adonai Lakach Yishem Elam V'Rach V'Hu Rachum Yechapel Lo V'Yashchis V'Valishiv Al-Ho V'Lo Ya'ir Kol Chamasol. The sheltering rock, his work is perfect. For all his ways are justice, God of faithfulness and without iniquity, just and right is he. The sheltering rock, perfect in all his works, who dares say what does thou, him who rules above and below, who takes away life and gives it, who brings down to the grave and raises up therefrom. the sheltering rock, perfect in all his deeds. Who dares say to him, what dost thou? Thou who promises and fulfills, show your gracious mercy to us, and for the sake of him who was bound on the altar like a lamb Isaac, hearken our prayer and grant our request. Thou who art righteous in all thy ways, rock of perfection, long-suffering, and abundant in mercy, we beseech thee, have pity and compassion on us, and spare both the fathers and the children, for to thee, O Lord, pertain compassion and pardon. Righteous art thou, O Lord, in taking away or giving life, for in thy hand are pledged all spirits. Far be it from thee to blot us from memory. O look towards us with mercy, for thou art the Lord of mercy and pardon. If a man live 1 year or 1,000 years, of what avail is it? For it is not as though he had never been. Praise be the true judge who takes away and gives life. Praise be he, for his judgments are true, as he scrutinizes all things and rewards man according to his deeds. Let all men therefore praise his name. We know, O Lord, that thy judgments are right, thy decrees just, and thy judgments are pure, and none shall presume to question thy judgments. Thou art the true judge, for all thy judgments are true. The soul of every living creature is in your hand, for there is justice in your command. We have mercy on the remnant of your flock, and say to the angel of destruction, withdraw your hand. O thou art great in counsel and mighty in action, who scrutinizes the ways of the children of men, and rewards each one according to his ways and the fruits of his labor. Manifesting that the Lord is upright, he is my sheltering rock, in whom there is no iniquity. The Lord has given, and the Lord has taken. Praise be the name of the Lord. He, the most merciful, forgiveth iniquity and destroy not. Often he turns aside his anger and does not awaken his wrath. And again, at this time, just want to remind everybody that you should put at least 3 shovels of dirt on the remains, and then put the shovel down, because we don't want to hand the shovel from one person to another, so people shouldn't think we're eager to part from our departed loved one. So we will, whoever would like to, again, be very, very careful. It's rather clay, heavy dirt, and it's slippery as well. So.
We do this before Yisker?
You can come up on either side. Friends are all welcome to participate if you'd like. You're welcome to come forward and step up on either side to place earth in the grave. You want to leave?
Friends, just a note for those of you who are here at the service today, and for those of you attending via the live stream, the family will be gathering together at Cooper's Hawk Winery and Restaurant following the interment today. Everybody who has been here is welcome to attend. The address is 950 Lake Street in Oak Park, and again, that's upon conclusion of our services today. And that information is available inside the folder you received today. And for those of you joining us via the live stream, that's also available on our website.
Tfilah lena kiatov, yifnei yishboch sicho, Nishmet Shlosi Shosielach Tavo El Tasha Panechmeni. Yom Sarli Hate Elias Nuchavim Yatoma Heranemi. Kichalu Oshan Yom Aviatmos Akmokin Nicharu. Hu Koko Isa Yavish Luki Shachachti Nachol Lachmi. Kon Chasidov Gatvi. Sorry. Visili Asmid Boris Sikakos Barbos Shakati Yakatipo Bodid Algog. Kliom Kerfunia by Miolia Binispo. Kiefer Kalachem Cholti Vishukuye Ribchim Nasochti Nezam Chov Kitzvercha Kinosani B'Tachecheni Yamar Kitol Noteliani Kesevi Bosh Tadmaniam Teshiv Zichrol Govador Toskin Drachim Kion Gis Frankelamo Ekirobu Whatever Savanevis Hafori Yochonenu Yugway Meshem Adonoi B'Cholach Henoit says Kudacha Kivra Adonai Tzionir Adechavodo Ono El Tfilas Ha'aror Blobozes Tfilos and Tichosid Zolfador Acharon the Amnivra Yahal Yakish keep me wrong Kocha Yadnoi Mishlam Yalachani Vid Shmon Kasas of Tech Bnei so Sapsim Shame I don't know it's also be Shalim Kotam Yachel Mamachos Lavodas and Ina the Derek Kofi Kita Yamai Omer Layal Talani Abachati Yamai the Dorim Shno Seicha Lifonim Horit Yisadim Asayada Hasamayim Hemi Oduyato Samod Yuchlam Vagadi Lo Albush Fakli Femi Achlo Vachosh Nasalo Samod Navaka Some of Anachiko.
I know that.
No, I don't think so. I had brother a long time. I had so I got pizza. The guy no, but he did.
And friends, as we conclude our services, we're going to ask everyone to gather around if we can for the final prayers of Amalei and Kaddish. Again, if we could ask for a moment of silence and have everyone gather around as we conclude the services.
That's Uncle Bernie. Wow. This is Floyd. Oh, you are? Oh, thank you. Where's Auntie Miriam?
Oh, yeah. I've got to put stone there. Yeah, you put stone over there. But that's so big.
Oh. Auntie Miriam over here?
Yeah, I know. Yeah. Yep, I know. I went through, you're going through, you know, what, 6 to 40 years ago. The 50th birthday. But were you there? Okay, I didn't.
With your permission,
I don't remember too much about that birthday.
we'll recite the Kalmali Rachamim at this time. Kalmali Rachamim, Shochein Bamromim, Hamtzem Nechonot Haras Hanfei Hashchina, Malos Kedoshim Atorim Ksar Kermas Himis Nishmas, Yosef Eliezer and Tzadik Shalach Nilamo, Avorish Mishpachto Nobdin Litztok Abaras Karas Nishmas Sal V'Ganeda and Teim Nuchaso, Lachein Barachamim Yasir B'Sisach Lavi Yamim, Bitror Chamis Nishmas Adonai Anachalaso, Yanuch Shalom Mishkavo, V'Nomar Amen. O God full of compassion, thou who dwells on high, grant perfect rest beneath the sheltering wings of your presence among the holy and pure who shine as the brightness of the firmament, and the soul of Yosef Eliezer ben Tzaddik, Joel Leslie Ruben, who has gone into eternity, and whose memory charity is offered by the family and friends. May his repose be in paradise. May the Lord of mercy bring him under the cover of his wings. Let his soul be bound up in the bonds of eternal life. May the Lord be his possession, and may his repose be peace. Amen. This time we'll recite the burial Kaddish, recited by the immediate mourners. Yiskadei v'yiskadesh shemei Rabbah b'yamadi hu asid mischadet halachaya meisaya l'sakal chayal mamibnei karted Yerushalayim l'shachlel hechol v'gavei melakar pulchan nuchra mayara l'sana pulchan adishmai l'asra v'yavnich kucha b'richu b'malchusei v'korei b'chayichon v'yamechon v'chaydecha b'yis Yisrael b'agala v'zman kariv v'momein Yehei shmei Rabba barach li'olam v'yamayo Sorech v'yishtabach v'yisboher v'yisramah v'yisnasei Sador v'yisale v'yisavol shemei t'kudsha b'richu Le'lam yinkal b'chasa v'shirasa t'shurasa v'nechamasa Da'amiran b'yamo v'yimromein Yehei shlomo Rabba min shemaya Chaim tov malenu v'yal kol Yisrael v'yimromein Osei shalom ramav Hu Rabba v'yasei shalom All in v'yal kol Yisrael v'yimromein. Friends, at this time we'll form a shura. Shura literally means a line on two sides of the roadway here, and we'll ask just the immediate mourners to pass through the line. Up until this point, we have been in a period known as Aninus, but with the passing of the mourners through the shura, the actual mourning and Shiva period begins. We ask Mechila from Joel if we haven't treated him properly, if we hadn't respected him in the way we should. We ask for forgiveness. All right, I'll try. On behalf of the family and for their welfare.
This concludes the service at the cemetery. The family appreciates your presence. We will be ending the live stream at this time.